Chapter 951. The two children came over to look at Olivia with tender expressions on their faces. "Mom," Olivia panted softly as she lay in Everly's arms. It was like she was completely exhausted. Everly's expression turned grave. "Liv, you've never been nauseous from dissecting before. Just out of curiosity, you haven't been sleeping with Ethan, right? Your symptoms seem to indicate you're pregnant." Olivia's expression froze. She had taken care of Ethan a few days ago, but they didn't actually do it. And the time doesn't match. Unless, she thought about that night back on the cruise ship. She had sex with Logan for the entire night. She had Joshua buy morning after pills for her the next day when they arrived in Aldenvine. She couldn't have gotten pregnant from that. "No, I can't be pregnant. I took the pills." Olivia's hands were shaking. "Pills? Liv, you do know that morning after pills aren't 100% effective, right? Have you had your period yet?" Olivia did some quick calculations in her head. The last time she had her period was 2 months ago. Her periods were never on time, so she never gave it much thought. She started to panic when she thought she could be pregnant. She shook her head frantically. "No, it can't be. I can't be pregnant." Everly saw Olivia's panicked and frightened expression. She knew there was more to this. "Don't worry, Liv. Maybe you just have an upset stomach because we spent the entire night on a speeding boat. Didn't doctors say it would be hard for you to get pregnant? Don't freak yourself out." Olivia's palms were covered in cold sweat. Her mind was filled with thoughts of what she should do if she were actually pregnant with Logan's baby. She didn't have romantic feelings for him at all. What happened that night was just an accident. Olivia fell silent for the rest of the journey. They passed several islands, but none of them sold pregnancy test kits. Olivia began to feel more and more anxious because the nausea was getting worse. Even Everly started to worry if it was her cancer relapsing. Neither a pregnancy nor a relapse was good news. Olivia knew that a relapse would only cause her stomach to throb in pain. It wouldn't make her nauseous. Her symptoms were exactly like the morning sickness of her last pregnancy. After 2 weeks at sea, they managed to get to a tiny country in the southern hemisphere. "From today onward, we'll rest here for a few days." Olivia's face was very pale, and her condition was worrying. Jack looked at her face and comforted her. "Don't be afraid. We'll get through whatever trouble you may face." Zach held her hand. "Mom, we'll all be with you." "Okay." Olivia's spirits finally lifted a little. They were right. No matter what was happening, she had to face it head on. Jack took a call and said, "Olivia, he's here." Olivia blinked in confusion. She didn't know who Jack was talking about. "You'll find out soon enough." Was it someone she knew? Olivia took a few sips of water and composed herself as she followed behind. Everly was holding the hands of Alicia and Zach as she scanned her surroundings. Jack had been to many places. He was also quite familiar with this country. It was a very underdeveloped and tiny country. Even the fundamental infrastructures were lacking. He took them through several streets and stopped before a brick house in the suburbs. Then, he knocked on the door 3 times. The door opened from the inside. Olivia was stunned when she saw the person. "It's been a long time, Olivia." The young man had matured a lot. His skin was more tan too. It was Colin, whom she had been searching for a long time. Chapter 952. Olivia was completely surprised to see Colin. She was so excited she didn't know what to say. "Why are you here, Colin?" "Olivia, it was so hard to track you down. I'm only able to see you because Jack contacted me." "Yeah, the past few years have been eventful, to say the least," Olivia said emotionally. "How has your cancer been?" Olivia took off her wig and said, "I almost succumbed to the cancer in the first 6 months of the year. It only managed to pull through with the pills you left me and chemotherapy. The side effects of chemotherapy have subsided a lot. My hair has started to grow again, but the tumor is still there." Everly couldn't help but feel bad when she saw Olivia's short hair. "You've been through so much, Liv. It's all in the past now. I was on my deathbed, but I survived." "Colin, I heard you've been researching anti-cancer drugs. Have there been any developments?" "Olivia, I'm here to cure you." Olivia's eyes lit up when she heard that. She felt like she was dreaming. Are you saying I can be cured? Although modern medicine had seen massive improvement, cancer was still an insurmountable challenge. Even the best doctors in the world couldn't guarantee a complete recovery from cancer. Yes, I went to Oakmed Mountain for over 6 months to look for an ingredient. Paired with the previous version of the drug, it might not be able to cure all cancer, but it'll work on you. You just need to take the drug according to my prescription for 6 months. The cancer cells in the body will be gone, the tumor will disperse, and your body will go back to normal. Olivia was very excited. She had been tormented by the illness for several years. If it relapsed again, she wouldn't be able to rely on chemotherapy to suppress it. She would be doomed. Everly yelled excitedly. You're a miracle doctor. Why don't you register for a patent? I'll invest in your research, and we'll make bank. Colin looked at the excitable woman next to him in bewilderment. With her hand on her forehead, Olivia said, by the way, this is my best friend, Everly Hilton. Everly, this is Colin Moriarty. It's a pleasure to meet you. The pleasure's all mine. What do you think of my proposal? Colin said in a respectful but distant tone. I'm sorry, but some of the ingredients required for this drug grow in places with extremely harsh conditions. They're very rare and can't be artificially cultivated. Gathering enough material for Olivia's 6-month dosage took a lot of time and effort. The drug can't be mass-produced yet. It doesn't even meet the requirements for clinical trials. The glow in Everly's eyes faded. Her dream to become insanely rich overnight was dashed. She was still dreaming about being the missing daughter of a billionaire and that she would one day be reunited with her father. She would drive a limousine full of cash and throw the money in Henry's face. She wanted him to kneel before her and repent. But that was just a dream. Regular people like her would never reach the heights obtained by Henry's family over several generations. Olivia, I need to find someplace to give you an examination before I can prescribe the medicine for you. When would it be best for you to do that? Olivia found it hard to tell Colin about the pregnancy. Colin noticed her unease. He asked, Olivia, is there something bothering you? Olivia bit her lip and said, I might be pregnant. Chapter 953. Colin's lips twitched as he looked at the twins beside Olivia. You're telling me that you're pregnant again? Olivia was a little embarrassed. Connor was the only baby she planned for. She didn't even have a sex life after that. The twins were conceived while Ethan had a high fever and was barely conscious. This newest pregnancy was even more ridiculous. The doctors said it would be hard for her to get pregnant, but she got pregnant both times she had sex. I've been feeling nauseous. It's a lot like the morning sickness I used to have. I'm afraid that. Alright, let's do an ultrasound first. We can do that in this town. But we can't do a magnetic resonance imaging procedure. Let's do the ultrasound first to determine if you're pregnant. The cancer treatment will have to wait until we get to our next stop. Okay, I'll do whatever you say. On the way to their destination, Olivia had a gloomy expression on her face. Back then, everyone told her she should have aborted the twins, but she ignored them and gave birth to them. Her strong desire to keep the babies was because she was afraid that she could never get pregnant again. Also, she was down in the dumps from losing her first baby. So, she showered all the love she had on the twins. They were also Ethan's children. It was completely different this time. She didn't have romantic feelings for Logan. She didn't want another baby at the moment. It was just the wrong time for it. Olivia, you don't want this baby. Olivia said hesitantly, Colin, I don't know how to explain it, but this pregnancy happened under circumstances out of my control. I hope I'm just overthinking this. I don't want to be pregnant. Understood. Let's get you checked first. It might not be a pregnancy. You don't have to feel pressured yet. Even if you're pregnant, you can still get a painless abortion performed at a good hospital. It's really convenient. Even though she knew Colin was right, Olivia couldn't help but feel depressed. The hospital in the town was a little run down. Even the room for ultrasound looked desolate. The white curtains were stained, the walls weren't painted, and there were even cobwebs in the corners of the room. Get on the bed, a tanned and chubby female doctor ordered emotionlessly. Olivia lay on the dusty bed. There was a huge cobweb just above her. There was an insect trapped in it and struggling, just like her. Her shirt was lifted up. An old-fashioned probe was placed on her stomach. Initially, it felt a little cold. As the machine started to whirl into life, Olivia's heartbeat started to race irregularly. After she received the results, her limbs became weak, and her face paled. She looked like she was about to fall over. "What's the verdict, Liv?" Everly rushed over and took the report from her. The words on the report were in the island's local language, which wasn't widely spoken. "What's this language? I can't read this." Olivia licked her parched lips. She studied many languages back when she was living in the Fordham residence. This was one of them. "I'm pregnant. 6 weeks. The fetus has already developed a fetal pole and a heartbeat." Everly was shocked. "You're really pregnant. What do you plan to do, Liv?" Olivia was in a daze and completely spaced out. She had no idea what she was supposed to do. "I don't know. I don't want the baby. But it's a life. I've seen people close to me die. I don't want to take the baby's life away." "Then, why don't you keep it? You've already given birth to 3 of Ethan's children. 1 or 2 more wouldn't hurt." Olivia said reluctantly, "What if I told you that Ethan isn't the father?" Chapter 954. Everly was drinking when Olivia said that. She immediately spat it out. "Wah, what? Ethan's not the father." Everly scanned her surroundings before whispering, "I didn't know you had it in you. You're quite the player. Who's the father? Is it the masked man or the cute young man? Both seem to care for you genuinely. They won't hurt you as Ethan did." Olivia was feeling conflicted. "Neither of them. Liv, you're being a stranger. I even told you how long Henry lasts each time, yet you don't tell me anything." Olivia was rendered speechless. She didn't even want to know about that, but Everly told her about it anyway. "It's a long story." Then, cut to the chase. A hint of excitement flashed in Everly's eyes. She was clearly in the mood for gossip. Olivia wasn't able to win an argument with Everly, so she ended up telling her about what happened. Everly fell silent after hearing what happened. Even someone as chatty as her didn't have the words to describe how she felt. "And, does that man know about this baby?" "No, he left after that night. We didn't keep in contact after that. It was a very dangerous situation, and it just happened. I took morning after pills as soon as I could. This is a completely unexpected outcome. What should I do, Eve?" Olivia was extremely conflicted. She was pregnant with the child of a man she didn't love. She didn't know what to do. "I can give you suggestions on anything else, but not this. I was pregnant once too. If possible, I wouldn't want to hurt the baby." Suddenly, Colin said, "I'm afraid you might be unable to keep the baby. If Olivia intends to take my prescribed medication for 6 months, I can't guarantee the safety of the baby. It might even cause the baby to be deformed. Rather than having it suffer its entire life, it would be better to end its life now." Olivia was met with the same decision she had to make last time. Back then, she had a reason to keep the babies. But at that moment, Olivia longed for greater heights, but this pregnancy was like a chain that tied her down and stopped her from moving forward. "Olivia, you relapsed once. You should know that your body can't handle another round of chemotherapy. I know you don't want to end an innocent life, but your health should come first. What do you think? I know you're looking out for me, Colin. But, we still need to go to another place to perform detailed examinations on you. You still have several days to make your decision. It's your choice to make since it's your body." Everly agreed with that sentiment. Olivia had to make the call herself. Meanwhile, in Aldenvine, everything before Ethan was being thrown to the floor by Henry. Gone was Henry's gentle and elegant demeanor. He was like a raging beast with bloodshot eyes. He dropped everything and flew back to Aldenvine when he received news that Everly had run away. They didn't have any information on her whereabouts yet. Henry couldn't hold his anger back anymore. So, he threw a temper tantrum and started rampaging. "Where is she? I handed her over in one piece. Now, where has she gone?" Chapter 955. Henry wasn't the only person that was angry. Ethan was fuming as well. Jack had already gotten away from his men for a week. He still hadn't received any updates. Ethan didn't harbor any ill will against Jack before he knew his true identity. But he had uncovered Jack's true identity in the past few days. Jack was Kurt's twin brother. He was born in very bad conditions and was at risk of dying at any moment. A psychic had told his family that he must be hidden from the public eye and needed to be kept at a church for protection. That was why the Stone family only ever made Kurt known to the public. Not even Ethan knew about Jack's existence. Kelvin sighed. That's so crazy. The psychic said only one of the Stone family's twins would live. They thought the weak and fragile Jack would be the one who passed. But Kurt's the one who ended up dead. No wonder Kurt had all those mysterious visits to the church. We thought he went to pray, but he actually went to visit his brother. This would mean that Jack knew his brother died because of Mr. Miller's sake. Would he try to harm Mrs. Miller? No one was sure what Jack would do. Even the Stone family wasn't close to him. Back then, the Stone family had thought about bringing Jack back after they mourned the loss of Kurt. But they were informed that he was already gone when they got to the church. No one knew where he went. In the past, Kurt would frequently mumble about a sickly boy. Ethan finally understood that he was talking about Jack. There was one thing he could confirm. Jack and Kurt used to be close. If Jack was really out for revenge, it would make sense why he got close to Olivia. What Ethan didn't understand was that Jack had the chance to hurt his children in the past 2 years. But he never harmed them, nor did he ever threaten Ethan. Ethan had no idea what Jack wanted to do. He just wanted to bring Olivia and his children back to his side. But Jack took Olivia, the children, and Everly with him and disappeared without a trace. This was the 8th time Henry had come to his place that week. His temper grew as days passed. Brian enjoyed the show thoroughly. Sipping on his tea, Brian commented, "I seem to remember a certain someone saying Miss Hilton was just a disposable toy 2 weeks ago. This is the first time I've seen you so riled up over a toy, no less." Henry glared at him. "You're only calm because this isn't happening to you. I wonder if you could still have such a bright smile on your face if your woman left you." Brian smiled. "Kate and I are just friends. Our relationship is pure. Don't even think of us that way." "Pure?" Henry was clearly skeptical. "I'm not in the habit of dating close friends." For some reason, Kelvin had the urge to tell Byron that Henry said similar things not long ago. But look what happened. He was out of his mind with anxiety. Brent said, "Mr. Cinder, we're utilizing a lot of resources on this search. Mr. Miller wants Mrs. Miller back more than you. You're not the only one who's anxious. This is not the time to point fingers. We need to work together to find them as soon as possible." Henry wasn't having it. He placed his hands on Ethan and said, "Tell me the truth, did you let them leave intentionally?" Chapter 956. Henry stared into Ethan's eyes. "The island is yours. Your men were stationed there. How did they escape without you allowing them to?" Henry wasn't stupid. He sensed the change in Ethan's attitude toward Olivia long ago. "I knew I couldn't keep it from you." Ethan didn't try to keep it from Henry. "I don't care about how you want to manage your relationship with your woman. But you shouldn't have meddled in my business." Henry stared at Ethan coldly. Seeing the tension rise between them, Brian finally stepped in. "All right. To be fair, you wouldn't have understood your feelings for Miss Hilton if you hadn't been separated. You can't pin this on Ethan. They couldn't have taken her if she didn't want to leave. So, instead of blaming your friend, why don't you two think about why they wanted to leave?" Henry sat down dejectedly. "Why? I gave her so much money. Isn't she in love with money? Why did she still leave me? Are you dumb or just pretending? If a woman could be bought with money, that would mean she didn't really love you. She didn't want the money and left you. It's highly possible that she's really in love with you. But you treat her like a plaything. Since she couldn't stand it anymore, she could only leave. Oftentimes, a bystander could see things with a more objective view." Henry was stunned. "Are you saying she's in love with me? But the rules we made up state that we'll keep feelings out of this relationship." Ethan rolled his eyes at him. "If she's really just a plaything to you, why are you so worked up over her?" Quote. "Don't you understand? A plaything can be replaced, but a lover can't. You've fallen in love with her, but you don't even know it yet. I'm not in love, I just give her some special treatment. Alright, if there's no love, why have you lost your appetite? You've even been struggling to fall asleep in the past few days. You've been throwing a fit at your best friend over her too. Ethan's questions struck a chord. Henry slowly became unsettled. Just admit it. You've fallen in love with her. If you really love her, you shouldn't keep her prisoner. Or you'll end up like me and lose her forever. With bloodshot eyes, Henry said, I don't love her. I don't care where she is. Then, he left without looking back. Brian shrugged. He's just very stubborn when it comes to relationships. He'll come around eventually and realize you're right. At least he still has a chance to fix their relationship, unlike me. It's too late for me now. Allowing him to come to terms with his feelings sooner isn't a bad thing. But I'm in the wrong too. Jack's true identity threw me off completely. That's not your fault. I heard that things were heated between you and that person. Ethan grunted. Since he had the courage to sell me out, I won't let him off the hook either. There will be a battle between us eventually. In the past, they only challenged each other behind the scenes. Nothing was ever brought into the light. The incident on the cruise ship intensified their conflict. That person incurred billions in losses, so he turned around and exposed Ethan's identity. Ethan almost died on the streets because of that. But since he survived, it was only natural for him to get back at the person. They had already escalated to open conflicts. Ethan even allowed Olivia to leave his side. It was all for the sake of getting that position. Olivia would only be safe if he could clear out everything that posed a threat to her. But Ethan didn't know Kurt had a brother. Jack had become the biggest uncertainty in this situation. Who was he? Was he a friend or foe? Chapter 957. Mr. Miller, you've been busy with work these days. You're even losing your sleep and appetite over Mrs. Miller. Your injuries haven't completely healed yet. What will we do if you collapse? Brent said. Ever since Ethan's identity was exposed in the dark web, Miller Group had also taken a hit. The company had a lot of subsidiaries. Recently, a lot of them, such as the real estate arm and the F&B arm, experienced some trouble. Some people were manipulating things from the shadows. They were from all sorts of shadowy organizations. When running a business, the scariest threats came from the ones hiding in the dark. Even Brian had received word of what was happening. If this goes on, your losses will be overwhelming. What's your next move? You know me. It's going to be an eye for an eye. I'll make them pay 100 times over. Ethan sneered. He knows I have the dirt on those people. He'll only lose if this goes on. That's why he got desperate and tried to make a move on the Miller family and Liv. But he didn't expect me to let Liv go free. So, even I don't know where she is. Needless to say, no one else knows. Without my biggest weakness, what else can he possibly do? Initially, everything was part of the plan. Sending Olivia away meant he could do whatever he needed to without any reservations. The only uncertainty was Jack. If Jack was on his side, he would emerge victorious. But if Jack had ulterior motives, he would be defeated because of Olivia. Not being able to find Olivia might not be a bad thing. We'll only have to trust that Jack has no ill intent. If he really wanted to do anything malicious, he had many chances to do so in the past 2 years. Your twins were with him the whole time, but he didn't do anything to them. Ethan sighed. I hope so. He could only hope that everything would go as he had planned without any more accidents. He thought, Liv, you have to stay safe. As if sensing Ethan's thoughts, Olivia woke up abruptly and gasped for breath. She actually heard the heart-wrenching cries of a baby in her dreams. There was a person standing a short distance away from her. The mask was reflecting the moonlight. The twins were sleeping next to Olivia. She placed a hand on her chest in fright. Wah, what do you need? Jack probably didn't expect her to wake up. Olivia couldn't see his expression because his face was hidden behind the mask. For some reason, maybe it was the dim lighting, Olivia felt like Jack was looking at her in a weird way. It's nothing. I just heard you talking, so I came in to check. Were you having a nightmare? Yeah. Olivia wiped the cold sweat from her forehead. She didn't feel like sleeping anymore after such a scare. Why don't we step outside? She always had questions for Jack but never had the opportunity to ask. They finally had a moment of peace. The insects were chirping outside. It was the middle of summer in the southern hemisphere. The town was very poor, and it was especially obvious at night. It was dark everywhere, unlike the city where lights were all around. There was a lone light bulb at the entrance of the town. Its dim light could only illuminate a small area, but it attracted a lot of moths. "Is it cold?" Jack asked. Olivia sat down on the steps of the door and looked at the starry night sky. She shook her head and said, "I'm fine." "Jack, doesn't this feel like we were back on the island?" "Yeah, when Tom and Jerry were still there. I met Jerry some time ago. He's about to go to university. He's a promising kid and has a bright future ahead of him. I heard that Tom has been going out on missions. He's a very impressive young man, too." Olivia was reminiscing. "Jack, there's a question I've been meaning to ask." Chapter 958. It was like Jack knew what she was about to ask. "Ask away. We've only known each other for a short time. I know you helped me investigate someone because of Martha and the others, but what about the things you helped me with afterward? You helped me out behind the scenes and raised my children for me. Even when I asked you to help me escape, you helped out to the best of your abilities without any complaints. We're not family, but you risked your life to do all these things for me. There has to be a reason why you're doing all this, right?" A dagger appeared in Jack's hand out of nowhere. This was the first time Olivia had seen his weapon. It looked like it was extremely sharp. At that moment, Jack seemed mysterious with a hint of viciousness. "Why don't you guess why I'm doing this?" Jack's voice was low and sounded especially eerie in the dark. It sent a chill down Olivia's spine. "I don't know. All I know is that no one does anything for no reason. I know that there's a price on everything. So, Jack, what do you want?" After meeting up with him again, Olivia suggested paying him some money as payment for taking care of her children for 2 years. But Jack didn't accept it. "People like me live each day like it's our last. I've grown numb to the evils of the world and the deaths of people close to me. Martha saved my life back then, and I've been living on the island since. Then, you showed up, and the development of the island started. I planned to leave the island and return to walking my own path. Then, I saw a bounty for your life when I was in the organization. That's why I helped out. Saving your children was just a coincidence. But now, I'm wanted by my organization, and I'm past the point of no return." Jack turned toward her and said calmly, "As for why I saved you, it's probably because I saw the meaning of life in you. You probably find this reason laughable." Olivia could sense that Jack had been through a lot. "Don't you have any family?" "Family? Nothing of the sort." As expected, the sense of loneliness emanating from him wasn't a coincidence. "My only family has passed away. I don't have any family now." Olivia could feel the weight of his loneliness when he said that. "Jack, if you don't mind, my children and I can be your family. I think if I had a brother, he'd be like you. Although we're not blood related, you've been taking good care of me. You're just like a brother to me. The kids love you too. You won't be alone anymore." "Brother," Jack lowered his head and murmured. The word seemed so unfamiliar but also familiar at the same time. "What's wrong? Did you have a brother?" Olivia asked. Jack leaned back and supported himself with his hands. "Yeah, but he's dead." "What about the rest of your family?" Jack sneered. "They're better off dead. From now on, Zach and Alicia will be your family." Olivia sighed and added, "My foster parents are both dead. I don't even know who my actual parents are. I'm the same as you. We're both without family." Jack muttered, "Family? What's wrong?" Olivia started to gag. Jack looked at her worriedly as he handed her a bottle of water. "What will you be doing about the baby? Are you keeping it?" "We'll be setting off tomorrow. We're expected to arrive in the next city in 3 days. It's about time to make a decision." Chapter 959. Olivia looked at the starry night sky and thought about the dream she just had. The baby's cries from the dream were still ringing in her ears. Was it because the baby had sensed what she wanted to do? "I don't know. Olivia, you can't keep this baby." Colin heard them talking and came out to sit down beside Olivia. You underwent chemotherapy before, and the side effects will persist for some time. There are no guarantees that the baby won't be affected by these side effects. Besides, you'll be taking my drugs for the coming months. Even if the baby survives, the chances of it ending up deformed are very high. Olivia did some calculations. She stayed in the city for 7 months after the final chemotherapy session before leaving. Then, she spent 2 months at sea. She rested on the island for over a month after the pirates attacked. The baby was conceived around 2 more weeks after that. It had been almost a year since she underwent chemotherapy. Maybe the baby was safe. But Colin was right. Even if the chemotherapy didn't affect the baby, the drugs she would be taking would increase the risk of deformation. There's another way. I can hold off on the drugs and give birth to the baby first. Colin looked at her in disbelief. Are you out of your mind, Olivia? You want to risk your life for this baby? Have you ever thought about the possibility of a relapse? Both you and the baby will die. But Colin, I've survived many near-death situations. That's why I cherish life. This baby already has a heartbeat and fetal pull. It doesn't matter how it was conceived. I can't just take its life away. Colin sighed in resignation. Olivia, what do you want me to say? You don't even love the baby's father. Even if you give birth to the baby, can you be sure you'll be able to give it love? I will. It's my baby. I'll treat it equally. Jack, I can't talk her out of it. You should try to talk some sense into her. She really can't afford to keep this baby. Jack looked at Olivia. Before he could speak, Olivia said, let's make a decision after the magnetic resonance imaging results are out. If my cancer is in better condition and isn't at risk of relapse, I'll take the drugs after I give birth to the baby. Alright, but you have to promise if the results aren't good, you have to abort the baby. Don't drag things out. If you drag the pregnancy out, the cancer won't be the only thing sucking life out of you. The baby will be sapping nutrients from you too. Your body won't be able to handle all of that. Okay, I promise. Let's make a decision in 3 days. Olivia went back to her room and saw Everly sprawled on her bed. She was scratching her waist with her fingers while murmuring, "Get on your knees, Henry. Bow down to me." Olivia shook her head in resignation. She covered Everly with a blanket and went back to her own bed. It had been days since Olivia had a good night's sleep. She would panic about her pregnancy every time she closed her eyes. This was the first pregnancy in which she didn't feel a shred of happiness over. Her mind was filled with Logan's extremely plain face. Even though Logan was a reliable friend, Olivia couldn't help but feel upset when she thought about having to give birth to his baby. But the baby was innocent. Since it was already in her womb, she couldn't really change anything. She could only leave it to fate. It was like the baby knew Olivia wasn't looking forward to its arrival. Olivia's morning sickness miraculously stopped. Back when she was carrying the twins, she had morning sickness for months. They went quite some distance and arrived at a prosperous city. Colin had some acquaintances here and was able to arrange for Olivia to get her medical examinations. When she was lying in bed for the magnetic resonance imaging, Olivia felt uneasy. What would the results be? Chapter 960. Olivia hadn't gotten a medical examination since she underwent chemotherapy a year ago. Her condition had been stable for the past year. The side effects were slowly dissipating. Her stomach hadn't acted up since. She felt like the tumor must have shrunk. Even so, she still felt uneasy before the results were out. If her body was in bad condition, she would have an excuse to have an abortion. As a mother, her first instinct was to keep her child safe. It didn't matter if she liked the baby or not. It was alive, and she didn't want to abandon it. Colin came out with the results as she was battling with conflicting thoughts. How is it, Colin? Colin had a grave expression on his face. It's not good, Olivia. You have to get an abortion as soon as possible. Olivia took a step back when she saw the size of the tumor on the report. She couldn't see or touch the tumor, but it had been torturing her with the side effects of the chemotherapy. Recently, she hadn't felt any discomfort that could be caused by the tumor. Colin, could this report be a mistake? Olivia, why would I lie to you? I went to the depths of Oakmed Mountain to find the ingredients for the drug to cure you. Everything I've done has been for your sake. Olivia quickly replied, "Don't get mad, Colin. I'm sorry. I was being a little indecisive. I know you're looking out for me. Olivia, I know you're kind-hearted. But you should be a little more selfish. You're always thinking of other people. That's why you've ended up where you are now. I've contacted the head of the gynecology department. You can now go for the preoperative examination." Olivia was still in a daze when Colin pushed her into the gynecological examination room. Perhaps it was because Colin had already taken care of everything in advance. The doctors were very courteous toward Olivia. They told her to take her pants off in Westnorian. Suddenly, Olivia felt a stomach ache. She apologized to the doctor and headed to the toilet. "It's okay, I'll wait for you." Olivia went to look for a toilet. But for some reason, she ended up near the smoking area. Before she could get closer, she heard a familiar voice. "Why did you lie to Olivia? What will happen if she finds out?" "Jack, Olivia doesn't understand what's at stake. But don't you know better? I'm doing it for her sake." She was determined to risk her life for the baby. If anything were to happen, both of them would die. Jack exhaled a puff of smoke and said, "But the tumor is already very small. It could be operated on. Even though the baby might take nutrients from her, there are also cases where cancer cells just disappear by themselves. I've seen cases where benign tumors in the womb disappear during pregnancies. There's still a chance for her to save the baby's life. Jack, we operate differently. I don't leave things to chance. I'll eliminate the risk entirely. Olivia has already agreed to the abortion anyway. This is the best outcome, and this is what is going to happen. This way, I'll be able to cure her without any reservations. Have you thought about the repercussions when she finds out? That's irrelevant. I just want her to live. I don't care about anything else." Olivia was stunned to hear that. She caressed her stomach with her fingers. That was so close. She almost went through with the abortion. Was the stomach ache caused by the baby? "Olivia, why are you here?"